Welcome. In this video, we're exploring how two personality types may interact in a romantic relationship through the lens of MBTI personality theory. We'll look at the strengths they might naturally bring out in each other, the challenges they may encounter, and the ways they can grow together. Keep in mind that MBTI describes personality preferences, not fixed rules, and it can't predict whether a relationship will succeed or fail. Every person is unique, and every relationship is shaped by far more than personality alone. Think of this as a tool for self-understanding and reflection, rather than absolute truth. With that in mind, let's get started. ENFPs often approach life with a sense of possibility, eagerly exploring new ideas, experiences, and connections that spark their imagination. Guided by extroverted intuition, they naturally see multiple paths forward and enjoy discovering unexpected opportunities wherever they look. Their supporting introverted feeling helps them remain connected to their personal values, encouraging them to pursue relationships and experiences that feel meaningful and authentic. In relationships, they often express affection through curiosity, encouragement, and enthusiastic support for the people they care about. They usually enjoy conversations that wander into dreams, possibilities, and personal growth, creating an atmosphere where ideas can flourish. While they often embrace spontaneity, they also value emotional sincerity and relationships that allow both people to grow as individuals. ENTPs often experience life as an endless stream of ideas waiting to be explored. Guided by extroverted intuition, they naturally jump between possibilities, connect seemingly unrelated concepts, and enjoy questioning assumptions simply to see where the conversation leads. Their supporting introverted thinking encourages them to analyze those ideas carefully, refining them through discussion, experimentation, and debate. In relationships, they often express interest by engaging someone's mind, introducing new experiences, and keeping conversations lively and unpredictable. They generally appreciate partners who enjoy exploring different perspectives without taking every disagreement personally. While they may frequently challenge ideas, that curiosity often comes from a genuine desire to understand, improve, and discover new ways of looking at the world together. ENFP and ENTP relationships often begin with a conversation that never seems to run out of momentum. Both personalities naturally lead with extroverted intuition, which means they're energized by exploring possibilities, chasing interesting ideas, and making unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated topics. Instead of carefully getting to know one another through predictable questions, they often discover each other through brainstorming, playful debates, spontaneous adventures, and shared curiosity. That common preference creates an immediate sense of familiarity, but beneath that shared enthusiasm are two very different ways of deciding what matters. The ENFP ultimately filters life through introverted feeling, while the ENTP relies on introverted thinking. Those different inner decision-making styles shape the relationship far more than either partner may realize during the early stages. Like any pairing, the experience will vary depending on maturity, communication, and life circumstances. MBTI offers one way to understand recurring patterns, not a guarantee of how any individual relationship will unfold. Part 1. First attraction. One of the first things these two usually notice is how naturally they can keep each other mentally engaged. Conversations rarely stay on one subject for long. A discussion about travel might turn into philosophy, then business ideas, then science fiction, before ending with plans for a weekend road trip. Rather than feeling scattered, both often experience these jumps as exciting and energizing. The ENFP is often drawn to the ENTP's quick wit, confidence with ideas, and willingness to challenge assumptions. ENTPs enjoy examining concepts from every possible angle, and the ENFP frequently finds that intellectually stimulating rather than intimidating. The ENTP's playful humor and creative problem solving can make the ENFP feel like they've found someone who can truly keep up with their imagination. The ENTP, meanwhile, is often intrigued by the ENFP's warmth and authenticity. While both enjoy exploring possibilities, the ENFP tends to bring emotional sincerity into conversations. They aren't just interested in interesting ideas, they're interested in what those ideas mean for people. That combination of enthusiasm and genuine personal conviction can make the ENFP stand out from many of the people the ENTP typically debates with. Both personalities also tend to appreciate spontaneity. Neither usually needs much convincing to try something new, visit unfamiliar places, start ambitious projects, or completely change plans halfway through the day. Early dating can feel remarkably easy because both partners are generally open to experimentation instead of expecting rigid routines. Their sense of humor often overlaps as well. They both tend to enjoy clever observations, playful teasing, absurd scenarios, and imaginative jokes that build on each other. Spending time together can feel lighthearted without requiring either person to constantly entertain the other. Still, early misunderstandings can appear surprisingly quickly. The ENFP often assumes emotional warmth implies emotional agreement. When they express something meaningful, they may expect understanding first and analysis second. The ENTP doesn't always approach conversations that way, because introverted thinking naturally searches for logical consistency. The ENTP may instinctively question an idea simply because examining it is enjoyable. They may debate points they don't even personally disagree with. To the ENFP, that questioning can occasionally feel more personal than intended. Meanwhile, the ENTP may initially misunderstand the ENFP's emotional convictions. The ENFP can hold certain values very deeply even if they remain flexible in most other areas. The ENTP may expect every topic to remain open for intellectual exploration, only to discover that some conversations carry personal significance for the ENFP. Neither person is necessarily trying to frustrate the other. They're simply approaching discussion from different internal priorities. Part 2. Strengths together. When this relationship is working well, its greatest strength is often its ability to keep growing. Since both lead with extroverted intuition, they're naturally interested in possibilities instead of settling into mental autopilot. New hobbies, travel plans, creative projects, business ideas, and unusual experiences can continue appearing years into the relationship because both partners genuinely enjoy exploring. That shared curiosity often prevents the relationship from becoming intellectually stagnant. Communication is usually energetic and highly collaborative. Both personalities tend to think out loud rather than privately processing everything first. Brainstorming together often becomes less about finding immediate answers and more about expanding possibilities until something exciting emerges. This can make them excellent teammates when solving complex problems. The ENTP often contributes objective analysis. They're comfortable identifying flaws, improving systems, and asking difficult questions that help refine ideas. The ENFP contributes insight into people. They frequently recognize emotional dynamics, interpersonal needs, and motivational factors that purely logical analysis might overlook. Together, these perspectives can produce surprisingly balanced decisions when both partners appreciate what the other brings. Emotionally, they often support one another in complementary ways. The ENFP naturally encourages personal expression. They often create an atmosphere where dreams, insecurities, and aspirations feel safe to discuss. The ENTP may contribute confidence during uncertainty by helping break overwhelming emotional situations into manageable problems that can actually be addressed. Neither style replaces the other. Sometimes someone needs empathy before solutions. Other times they need perspective before reassurance. When both partners recognize those differences, they can provide forms of support that cover a surprisingly wide range of situations. Daily life can also benefit from their shared flexibility. Unexpected schedule changes usually create less friction than they might for personalities who strongly prefer structure. Last-minute invitations, spontaneous trips, or completely changing weekend plans often feel exciting instead of stressful. Both also tend to encourage individual growth. The ENFP often inspires the ENTP to consider emotional perspectives more intentionally, encouraging greater awareness of how ideas affect people. The ENTP often encourages the ENFP to examine assumptions more critically, helping separate emotional reactions from objective evidence. Rather than simply validating each other's existing habits, they can gradually broaden each other's perspectives. Of course, this depends heavily on maturity. If either partner dismisses the other's natural approach instead of appreciating it, those same differences can become sources of frustration instead of growth. Part 3. Biggest challenges. Although they share many strengths, their differences in decision-making create some of the relationship's most recurring challenges. One common issue involves emotional conversations. When the ENFP opens up about something deeply personal, they're often looking for emotional understanding before logical evaluation. The ENTP may genuinely care, yet instinctively begin analyzing the situation, questioning assumptions, or proposing alternative interpretations. From the ENTP's perspective, this is an attempt to help. From the ENFP's perspective, it can sometimes feel like their emotions are being examined instead of acknowledged. The reverse misunderstanding can happen as well. The ENTP often enjoys intellectual debate with very little emotional attachment. Challenging ideas is simply part of how they think. The ENFP, however, may sometimes interpret repeated questioning as criticism of their values or identity, especially if the discussion involves subjects that connect closely to their personal beliefs. Neither partner necessarily intends conflict. They're simply assigning different meanings to the same conversation. Decision making can become another point of tension. The ENTP often wants to keep exploring options until they're confident they've identified the strongest solution. The ENFP may also enjoy exploring possibilities, but eventually they often ask which choice feels most personally meaningful or authentic. One partner prioritizes internal logical consistency. The other prioritizes internal personal alignment. Neither approach is inherently better, but they don't always arrive at conclusions through the same process. Lifestyle challenges can emerge as well. Because both enjoy novelty, practical responsibilities may receive less attention than either partner intends. Household organization, budgeting, scheduling, and long-term planning can become recurring stress points if both continue postponing less exciting tasks. Their shared spontaneity can become both a strength and a weakness. Another challenge involves conflict itself. The ENTP may remain comfortable discussing disagreements for extended periods, viewing conflict as something that can clarify understanding. The ENFP is often willing to engage too, but prolonged debates that feel emotionally disconnected may gradually become exhausting. If the ENFP begins withdrawing emotionally while the ENTP continues analyzing intellectually, both can leave the conversation feeling misunderstood despite spending hours talking. These patterns aren't inevitable, but they illustrate how similar personalities can still experience very different internal experiences. Part 4. Making it work for this relationship to thrive over time. Both partners usually benefit from recognizing that understanding isn't measured solely by enthusiasm. The ENTP often grows by remembering that not every emotional conversation is an invitation to solve a puzzle. Sometimes the ENFP simply wants their feelings understood before examining possible solutions. Listening without immediately restructuring the discussion can strengthen trust considerably. The ENFP often grows by recognizing that the ENTP's questions are rarely intended as personal attacks. Challenging ideas is frequently how the ENTP explores the world, even when discussing concepts they largely agree with. Allowing room for intellectual curiosity without assuming emotional rejection can reduce many unnecessary misunderstandings. Both personalities also benefit from developing habits that balance their shared spontaneity, creating simple systems for responsibilities, following through on commitments, and intentionally finishing projects become increasingly important over time. Since neither naturally enjoys being limited by routine, finding flexible structures rather than rigid schedules often works better. The relationship tends to thrive in environments that reward creativity, exploration, and continuous learning. Couples who travel together, pursue shared hobbies, collaborate on creative work, or regularly expose themselves to new experiences often find that their natural curiosity remains one of their strongest bonds. The pairing may struggle more when life requires long periods of repetitive routine without opportunities for novelty or meaningful conversation. Likewise, situations involving unresolved emotional tension can become increasingly difficult if one partner continues analyzing while the other continues seeking emotional reassurance. As both individuals mature, however, these challenges often become easier to recognize. Instead of assuming the other person is approaching the relationship incorrectly, they begin seeing that different cognitive preferences simply highlight different parts of the same situation. That shift in perspective often changes the tone of the relationship far more than any single communication technique. In conclusion, an ENFP and ENTP relationship is often defined by shared curiosity, energetic conversation, and a mutual desire to keep exploring both the world and each other. Their common preference for extroverted intuition creates an easy sense of momentum, while their different decision-making styles bring perspectives that can either complement one another or create friction depending on how they're understood. Neither personality completes the other, nor are they destined to clash. Like any relationship, long-term compatibility depends on communication, maturity, shared values, and a willingness to appreciate differences rather than simply tolerate them. When both partners learn to value both emotional authenticity and logical exploration, this pairing can become one where curiosity continues to fuel not only exciting conversations, but lasting personal growth together.